What a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go. Hey, good morning, Seaside. Oh, what a joy it is to be with you on this Easter morning. These robes are about the only traditional thing you'll get here on an Easter Sunday. Hey, did you hear on Easter morning when the rooster kind of strutted his stuff into the barnyard and saw all sorts of brightly colored Easter eggs all over the place? He went and beat up the peacock. I have spent quite a bit of time this week just thinking about the wonderful story of Jesus and how here's a man who absolutely transcended the greatest fear that plagued humanity at that time and even this time, and that is the fear of death. And the only way that he could conquer that fear of death was to go through the experience and rise triumphant. And so he stood before us and says that I have risen. I'm alive. We need not fear that kind of experience. And if he is able to transcend and rise and be resurrected from death, imagine in our life everything that we could rise above, including death. And so I spent time this week meditating upon that, contemplating that, and asking, what is it that this guy had? I mean, what is it that he had that, I don't have? And what I realized is not that I don't have it or not that you don't have it. It's just we're not practicing it at the level in which this man did. He stood as a prototype and an example, and what he had going on is that he was connected. He was absolutely connected with the source. And so you hear us talk about it here in religious science, that it doesn't matter what the challenge is in your world, whether it's your bank account, whether it's your relationship or your body, there's only one thing that's going on there, and that is a sense of separation from the source. And if we can get connected, which is why this morning's message is getting connected. Matter of fact, this whole month, for the next month, I'm going to ask us to continue to focus on getting connected, hooking up to that inspirational source, that oneness, that mystical experience. And so this morning when you came in, I trust everyone received a puzzle piece, right? And if not, pick one up on the way out. Because what I would like you to do with this puzzle piece this week and for the rest of the month is to put it in your pocket or put it in your purse or put it somewhere where you continually run into it through the course of the day, through the course of the week, for the rest of the month. And every time you see it, I want it to remind you that you're a piece of a greater picture, that you hold an amazing piece, because without your piece to the puzzle, the picture would not be complete. You are an integral part of this emerging God picture, and without you, it would not be complete. And so that piece that you have, it's imperative that you get connected with your source. It's imperative that you hook up, because what happens in this human life in which we live is there is so much compartmentalization going on that we're constantly separating this and separating that out, and there's a part of us that just longs and hungers for that connection with source. There's a part of us that knows that our wholeness, and yet we've got these different pieces going on out there in life. We have it segregated, so, hey, I've got my work, I've got my recreation, I got my vacation. I got my business life, I got my love life, and I've got my spiritual life. The world doesn't. Hey, we got our business district where commerce and the secular and profane go on, and then you got the church that houses the spiritual. People have separated education from the family. I mean, what's going on there? Why do things need to be so separated? What happens is when we begin to get connected, what we'll find is that this spiritual presence moves through us. There will be an harmony. There will be a congruence. There will be a concordance of this spirit expressed in all things. Jesus was constantly connected. Whether he was going to parties, he was making water into wine. Guy I want at my party, I'll assure you. He would not have been invited to all the places he went if he wasn't fun to be with. There is something that moved through him because he was connected. And so this week and this month, we're going to keep talking about getting connected with your source, hooking up to that mystical experience, that oneness, that sense of the allness of God, because there's only one mind. And so when we go out into the world, let us not step out into life without connecting. No matter how small or mundane our task or our chore might be. Now, even if you're just going out to the store, for local store, for a loaf of bread, don't forget to check in with God as you go out, because you know what? You may think you're only going for a loaf of bread, but God has sent you on a divine mission. He has sent you out there. You don't know who's watching. You don't know whose lives you're going to be touching, what it is you're going to be saying, who's going to be hurting, and you're going to bring that bearer of light and peace and aura that just lightens up a situation. We talk about that God is mind. And in New Thought, we go as far as saying that God mind is my mind. And yet we'll go out and get bread without checking in with God. We'll plan our life and not take the time to meditate and to remember and to connect with Source. We'll go on our will, our plan, our energy until we're pooped. We talk about God is life. And that is my life, is what we say. And yet we have worry and struggle and scarcity. Excuse me, I don't think that's going on in the God life. So I'm saying get connected here. We talk about God is love. And that divine love is the very essence of my being, is what we'll say. And then the next thing I know is we're judging those people out on the street. We got criticism, and we're fearing some folks that are out there. That's not expressing love. You got to remember to be connected if you want to rise and go beyond where you're operating in your life. Mary Mann Morrissey, who was here Friday night, she was fabulous. Oh, my goodness, just a wonderful presence. And she shared a story, not that night, but she has shared a story in the past of a time she was in a grocery store. She was second in line. And she noticed the checkout clerk was probably the rudest checkout clerk she had ever seen before, just being short with the person in front of her. And so when it was her time to go up and check out, she wasn't any nicer with Mary. And Mary's kind of nice, but she was being rude to Mary. And then she noticed she overcharged Mary for the grapes. Mary said, hey, you overcharged me for the grapes. And she was kind of nasty. She pulled out the receipt, stuck it in her hands and the change, and get out of here. And so as Mary was walking out the store with the bag boy, she kind of engaged in some gossip and said, man, that was the rudest clerk I've ever seen, to think that she represents the store. And the kid said, yeah, she was pretty rude. But yesterday, her son was in a bicycle accident and is now in intensive care, and that she's a single mother and she couldn't afford to take the day off work to be with her son. If that doesn't shift one from a moment of anger and criticism to a place of compassion. What happens when we're not connected is we don't know the whole story. What happens is in the midst of the crucifixion, we think that is it, that's the end. We believe in the mortality, not the immortality. When we begin to understand, we begin to see more. We've got to be connected, because when you're not connected, you just do dumb things. You ever notice that? You ever read any of those dumb crook stories? Yeah, I read a few the other day. One was, it was this heavy snowfall. And so these two crooks went out and they went into cars. They stole stereos out of 43 cars one night. It's just that the next morning, the cops followed their footprints in the snow back to their house. Smart. One guy, I'm trying to think, in, where was it? Yeah, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, had his brother watch this apartment as he was burglarizing it. Bad choice. His brother was legally blind. The owner came home and had him arrested. What was he thinking? Another one was arrested for burglary when the woman came home, saw her house totally disarray, her computer was on, and the guy had checked his email while I was there and left and didn't log out. When we're not connected, we're just doing dumb things. There was another one in the stories. It wasn't a burglar thing, but it was about a lady in West Virginia. She asked a police officer if he could have the deer crossing sign removed from the road in front of her house because too many deer were getting hit there and they should be crossing somewhere else. Yeah. It is so important to be connected in life. Otherwise, you're just out there making fools of yourself because you do not understand the fuller picture. You're not trusting that there's only one mind, that's the mind of God, that is my mind now. I'm not going to give my power away to the appearance of the situation because I do not know what is going on here. It may look in this human form that I can only see so much, but you know what? There's a divine mission I have been sent out on. I will rise triumphant above any ebb that may be going on in my life. If this guy can transcend out of a tomb that he has been locked in with a boulder, because some angel opened it and set him free, or whatever the story goes, I too can rise above what appears to be going on in my life. You may have heard the story of the lady who was at the airport getting ready to get on a plane or waiting, and she got herself a bag of cookies. She had a cookie and got kind of cotton mouth. So she went to get some coffee. She left her travel bag and her cookies on the seat, grabbed the coffee, came back, and there was a very disheveled-looking guy who sat down next to her stuff and was eating her cookies. Indignant, she took a cookie and ate it. Well, he took a cookie and he ate it. And she took a cookie and she ate it. And he took a cookie and she took a cookie and he took the last cookie. But he was nice. He split it in half and gave it to her. And she took that. She said, how rude could this guy be? She got on the plane, she sat down, she buckled herself in, she checked in her travel bag to grab a magazine. You know what she found? Her bag of cookies. All of those feelings that she was having about this homeless-looking guy who was generous enough to share his cookies with her. We have got to clear out the old fishing nets of our mind that have yesterday's catch and debris stuck in it. Because I'll tell you, the creation of your dreams and that fuller story doesn't give a hoot about your past. You know, what are those dreams? You say, yeah, I can't do that because of this that has happened. You know what? Up to now. There's a great exercise for you. If all of a sudden some thoughts you have begin to stop you, you can say, up to now, and stop that. No, actually, next week, I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to give you one of those purple rubber bands that Unity Church is giving out, that if you have a thought that is just less than positive, you pop it. And so you may have, actually, they did a whole show on Oprah a couple weeks ago, so we're trusting they're going to be here since a lot of people are wanting it. But I will have positive thoughts. You with me? But, you know, we're clearing out that. I want you to shred the sagas of your world. I want you to stop that rigorous tabulation and keeping score of what has taken place in your life thus far. Up to now, I have been entombed. And it's time to roll away that stone and to rise triumphant in your life in a whole new way and believe in your dreams. That's right. Leslie Burnside lives in North Carolina. She is a social worker. She came home one day, told her 10-year-old sister, Auburn, about the foster children, how they have to go from temporary home to temporary home. And when they go, they have to put their clothes or their stuff in trash bags. And this little 10-year-old thought that was horrible. It's like, there's got to be a different way. And so she came up with an idea. She was going to go collect bags, suitcases, backpacks, duffel bags. And she started doing that. She called it Suitcase for Kids. In 2 years, she collected over 1,700 bags for kids. It caught on. It became a international organization. To date, has delivered over 30,000 bags, suitcases, duffel bags, and backpacks to foster children moving from home to home. Here's a little 10-year-old girl that had a dream and a belief, something she could do. When a child has a dream, it's like there's a twinkle in their eye. You don't say, oh, you don't understand the whole story. There's a belief. You know, Trevor, he'll pick up a rock and he'll hand it to me. And I look, it's a rock. And then I look into his eyes. And do you know how excited he is about this rock that he's handing me? How excited he is about this pebble in his hand? I look into his eyes and I look at this rock, and this rock has taken on new life. It has taken on a vibrancy. It has taken on an excitement. And I look at this rock and I look at him, and there is life there. That is what an alive individual can do when they believe in their dreams, when they believe that there's a larger picture and that what is going on is only a piece. It is only a piece to the puzzle. And no matter what is going on in your world, it is only a piece. And if I could just understand more, if I could just step up to that God perspective and move beyond in my life, which is what we're attempting to do here at Seaside this year, is to move us beyond in our life into our dreams. But something Oscar Hammerstein said is that for a dream to come true, you first have to dream a dream. For a dream to come true, you first have to dream a dream. When I'm talking about a dream here, I'm talking about something big. I'm talking about something that stretches you. So if you got a dream and you got it figured out, that how you're going to be able to do it, your dream's not big enough. You know, if you got a dream and you figure that you've got it all, you know, all the details that you can manage it and make it happen, there's no room for God to show up. There's no space for the divine intervention. There's no space for the grace to have its way. When you're dreaming, I want you to have a dream when those conflicting ideas go, pop that rubber band. Know that whatever seems to entomb that dream from happening can be rolled away, but you've got to believe. You have got to believe that there's something uncanny, wonderful that is about to happen in your life. That just as that stone was rolled away, just as an individual can rise triumphant from the grave, something uncanny is waiting to happen in your life, but you've got to have the dream. You've got to see the fuller picture. It is stirring. It's like 1,000 rivers that have been released from your heart that you didn't even know were there. You know, Emerson said, there's a power that resides within him that is new to nature. There's a power that resides in him that is new to nature. That's 1,000 rivers that are seeking to go that you did not even know you have. But you've got to believe that something uncanny, wonderful is about to happen, that there's something stirring in your soul that can come forth. You've got to believe. But you know, when you're on this path of creation, you're going to have disturbances along the way. It's not all just smooth. That's dead. You're going to have your ups, and you're going to have your downs. Jesus had his betrayals and his crucifixions, and then, you know, he had the resurrection. He had his ups and his downs, his good days, his bad days. We have the goods, like a roller coaster going up, 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 up. You know it's going to be coming down, down, down. It's the way it works. And on the spiritual path, not only do you have ups and downs, what you have is the in and the out. In that spiritual world, you have that place that you can go in. Life is in cycles, and there's times where you go within, and you take the time and you listen to that voice, to that presence, to that dream. And then you step out into the marketplace, and you bring what's going on from that meditative place into the marketplace. And then what goes on in the marketplace, you take back into the meditative place. And then from the meditative place, you take it back out into the marketplace. It is the way that it works. It is all, it is whole, it is complete, it is up, it is down. But what's important is for you to remember that no matter what that dream is, you're not going it alone. You're only a piece of that puzzle. I know for myself, when I used to play tennis in high school, on the tennis team. I used to play doubles. But every now and then, they would take the number one seed of our high school and let him be on my doubles tennis team. Well, let me tell you, I improved 1,000-fold. You know, all of a sudden, I knew that if I missed a shot, the best was behind me. And I stretched in ways I'd never stretched. I would try shots I would normally never try. I became so good just knowing I was playing with the best. Well, I want us to know that on your path to creation, that you're playing with the best. You're playing with God. You're playing with the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. And you're not just playing, you are creating. You are creating that dream. The Spirit is able to show you the whole picture. This is why we meditate. This is why we go into the tomb. This is why we take that time to connect and to feel that presence. So when life throws something at us that shakes us to the core, we remember it's only a piece to a greater picture that I don't have the full understanding of yet. And something uncannily wonderful is about to happen. There's going to be a force that I know not of that is about to be released that will allow me to be resurrected in a new kind of experience that is relevant and real. There was this great man who married the woman of his dreams. And together they created a beautiful little baby girl who was just everything the two of them could ever have desired in a child. And this great man loved his little girl so much he would pick her up in his arms and he would dance around the room with her, sing songs and hum, and always say, "I love you, little girl. I love you, little girl." And so as the little girl began to grow, this great man would still pick her up and hold her and say, "I love you, little girl." And she would look up and say, "I'm not a little girl anymore." And he would say, "But you'll always be my little girl." And so when this little girl wasn't so little and she moved out of the house and out into the world, she came to realize as she discovered herself how great this man really was in his ability to communicate his love and how strong of an expression that love is. And that no matter where she was in her life or on this world, he would call and say, "I love you, little girl. I love you, little girl." And one day the phone rang and she picked it up and it was a nurse. And the nurse says that this great man's body has been impacted by a stroke and that he can no longer speak. They're not even sure if he could understand words when they're spoken to him, let alone be able to dance or laugh or tell her that he loved her. So she went to see him, and when she entered into that hospital room, she didn't see a strong body, but a frail, broken down body. And she could see him trying to talk. Nothing would come out. So she did the only thing she could. She climbed into this bed and put her arms around the shoulders of her frail father and just held him and tears rolled down both of their eyes as she just put her head on his chest and remembered the good times, how he protected her, how he cherished her, how they danced together. And then something happened. She heard the heart beat, the place that was really where the words lived and the music was. And as she had her head on his chest, the magic and the miracle took place. She heard his heart say the words his mouth couldn't speak. "I love you. I love you. I love you. Little girl, little girl, little girl." That's the kind of magic that happens when we're willing to be connected with a source. It shows up in our life beyond how our mind could have figured it out. We can't force it. So often we try to force our connection. We try to force our oneness. This oneness, we get everybody's ideas, we cram them into one big idea and have somebody proclaim this idea. That's not oneness. It is everybody being able to live with a sense of freedom, sense of liberation. And that comes from doing our practice to connect with our source and that dear life that we know is God. You know, the Buddha said that just as all the great oceans of this world have one taste, the taste of salt, so too do all the great truth teachings have one taste, the taste of liberation. That liberation, that freedom in your life is what we're going for. It's you being able to express yourself in a way that is free, being able to live in this world knowing that you are not bound by the scarcity, by the fear, by the lack, limitation, the worries, or even death itself. Liberation is being free and knowing your immortality, that you can rise triumphant, that in those downward times there will always be that up time coming in your world. And life is just needs you to know this. That we live in a world that is calling for you, for your caring hand, your compassionate heart, your sensibility and your natural ability, for your original pipeline to the infinite. There's a whisper and a plea in the air that says, "Come on. Stop waiting for that invitation. It's been given. So get connected and express that dream in your life." God bless us as we do.
So I'd like to invite the ushers to come forward as we do take our gift from our heart. Again, with a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts, and then afterwards take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.